Okay, so it's asking us to bring across this this threader or this photo etch part. It's part number B. It's asking us for asking us to take part B33 and 2 of them. So let's kind of have a quick look around, and they're both there. So what I'm going to do, like I did before, just pretty much just sharp end of a knife and just pinch them. Keep turning around to suit me being left-handed. And that's the first one out. We get a bit of this flashing left on it, but sometimes it's actually easier to kind of sand these off when they're actually glued into the parts rather than try and sand that way. Because this is like, what is it, 0.2, 0.3, 0.1. So yeah, any kind of trying to attack that with any kind of sandpaper, you got a good chance to bending that. So I've just got the second one out and we'll come back. Okay, so I've cut both of them out, and pretty much what we're going to do, I'm going to position this left hand and work on this port side one straight away. And what we need to do, we've got like little slots in the, almost like a little lip in all this front edge of there. I'll bring it nice and close to the camera so you can see it. Got a little lip. So what we're going to do is just obviously take this photo etch part just cut out, and that's going to, that one's trying a bit twisted, just that. Luckily, I can still adjust that. Yeah, so pretty much what we're going to do with this far edge is going to be glued right on the far edge, that one, and then it's pretty much just going to sit something like that. So what I'm going to do is obviously just get a little bit of super glue, run a bead of super glue under every little position, and then we can fit this one in place. Okay, so I'm just going to turn it over, and then just using some of this Loctite super glue, I'm just going to drop a little bit on these little lips, and then just a little bit, it's like a little groove there, so I'm going to drop a little bit in there. We can always add a little bit more after. This is just this Loctite super glue. It's been actually sat in that little pot for about 2 days. I kind of put them in these little pots, and they seem to just stay in there for 2-3 days without going off. Just gonna make sure that's nice and flush on that front edge, and then making sure it's in this groove, like so. Like I say, don't worry too much if a little bit of super glue is over. I'm going to put a little bit too much on so it's stuck. We can kind of come back in after that and address that. I'll show you how to do that after. Okay, so that's the first one in. So I'm just going to turn him over and just do the same again. So same again, let's take this second one, making sure I got no super glue on my hands. I want to kind of get that first one nice and flush, bring them all together. Like I say, it's got a little slot. It's got to just fit into that slot, which it just did. Make sure they're all nice and lined up. And that's the second one fitted, so that's kind of both of them fitted. Okay, so we're moving on to this back part of this tail jig, and we get this this rod. This is 1.5 mil, and actually I kind of thought it might come as a part cut, pre-cut before we done. So you're going to cut this off, but on the back edge of all these tail jigs, all slightly half rounded, and that's designed so obviously this circle kind of fits in this half round. So pretty much what we have to do on this side is we're pretty much kind of going right on this far edge. It's going to be quite tricky, this part. Yeah, that's kind of going to fit and line up like that. It tells you to cut it at 151 millimeters long, so I don't know whether to pre-cut it first or cut it after. Yeah, I'll pre-cut it first. Okay, so I've got my ruler out and I'm just going to kind of roughly mark it around at 150. So what I'm going to do now is just going to take a little masking tape and just put that around this 150 mark. And then just squeeze it all down. All that's going to do is just going to make it a little bit more easier to see the line. So see if we can bring it across again. Get it on there and it says the 151. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make it like 152 and we can always like trim it back to 151. Put a pencil line on there. Okay, so you've got a couple of options to cut this. You can use a tiny little hacksaw. But I've got like the little cutting disc on this drill, so I'm going to use that. So I'm just going to get my clamp, put it into my clamps, leave it so a little bit's just showing. Okay, so what I'll do now is just get this little cutter. It's got a little cutting disc blade on, and I'm just going to cut that along. And all I'm going to do, I'll get this out of the way, kind of put it onto the settings, make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, so I'll just cut it with this USB little drill, and obviously I use it for drill, but also can be fitted with these cutting discs. Like I say, it's ideal. I'd not get a full charge, so it probably took a little bit longer than it should, so I'll just pop it back on charge. What I'm going to do now is just pull this tape off. We've got quite a nice end. Just take one of these little sanding discs, put it flat on the floor. Okay, so I've got this part now. It's just cut 151 millimeters. And like I said, this design where it kind of fits in all these half rounds. Sits on top of that photo etch part we just fitted. Like I say, it's going to be a tricky one, this one. Okay, so I think the first thing to do is just put a little bit of glue in this first little half circle, and then just put a little bit on top of that. So bringing the two parts together, kind of make sure they're lined up. Maybe just take one of my little clamps for this corner. And then what I'm going to do now, obviously I've just glued in the first one. I'm going to make my way all the way across the port side. Put a bit of glue in this corner, a little bit of glue on that edge. And then just drop a little bit of glue into every one. So try and line them up. Just line that edge up. Put another clamp on there, and then kind of make sure that these are all in these little troughs. And then just pretty much have a bit of a look around and just see if they're all kind of lined up and all resting in these little half circles. Quite nice. Like I said, I'd ideally like to clamp these with something, but there's not a great deal to kind of grab onto around kind of bending something or twisting something, so I might have to just leave it like that. Okay, so that's pretty much all the parts for this tail aileron, all nice and fitted. Like I say, once the glue's dry, we'll come back in and we'll just clean all this up a bit. Okay, so we're moving on to on step 1. Moving on to page 21, and we've got these two parts. This is W3 and W4, and these kind of fit in between these two parts that I kind of showed you that I'd fitted off camera last time. Okay, so I'm going to start off by fitting this W4. Like I say, just have a feel. I'll just take off a little bit more of this flashing marks. And these are 3x2, but we're going to get this one so it's obviously 3 along the face and 2 along the sides. And that one just dropped in there. Nice and happy. Yes, that one just fits just there. So I'll take a little bit of glue and just run a little bit of glue inside this trough. It's on both sides. And that just fits in there. So now I need this. This is W3, but this time we need it so obviously the freeze facing to the front, and the 2mm across the top. And this one just drops. This one's quite tricky. Can't get my fingers in here. That one's just going to drop just in there. Same again, a little bit of glue into these troughs, both sides. So I get this part, it's a bit tricky. I'll get my tweezers so I can kind of get it in position better. Drop it into that one. Drop it there. It's kind of paintbrush slightly damp. Just clean up the edges. And that's just them two parts added. I think that's pretty much where the chair's going to sit, pilot's chair. Okay, so that's pretty much everything done up to the end of page 21. So we come back next time, we're pretty much going to start obviously working on a few more photo etch parts. And then pretty much, hopefully, we're pretty much done from step 1. It took a bit of a while. Before I go, I'll just kind of show you just how to kind of clean these. I don't want to take them fully off yet. And I just want to leave them probably a good couple of hours just to fully kind of cure. But I'll just kind of show you how to kind of just clean up these. I'll just clean up these parts. Okay, so I've just got this fiberglass pencil. You've probably seen me use it many times before in some previous videos. And I used to use these all the time when I used to make commissioned double O gauge locomotive. I used to, obviously, people used to commission me. I used to make them and sell them more years, 10 years ago. But I used to use these all the time when you kind of soldered all the all the obviously 4/2 parts together, all the brass parts, and you kind of use these to kind of clean up all the solder joints. But what I've noticed is they work quite well actually. I use it on plastic models and they work quite well to kind of clean up a little bit of super glue. So all I'm going to do where this joint is, just brushing this fiberglass pencil over these little joints. And you'll just kind of clean off some of this super glue. And it just saves it being like too abrasive using a sandpaper. And just kind of do that pretty much on them all. And you just spend a bit of time on it until actually you're kind of happy. But what you can do also, what you do now is, now this is kind of all in this, obviously built up in this frame, is you can now take your sandpaper and just take off these little bits of flashing as well, because they're a lot firmer now. It's all kind of being glued together. So you can just run it backwards and forwards and just take off them little nicks when we cut it off the sprue. Okay, so I've made quite good progress in today's video. Kind of nice, nice detail. It's coming. Obviously, it's a minute. It's it's hard to really tell any kind of shape. It's all just sat in the jig, but it's yeah, it's looking nice. It's starting to get there. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all again soon.